We are, make sure everything's working. I know it's really late. We're burning the midnight oil. It seems like that's every night. Okay, so we are at 1,849 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss and his life was taken from him. It wasn't, an accident. This was all premeditated. They started targeting him in 2019. That's that's why Bob Moore of El Paso Matters is a suspect in this case. So anything you read on El Paso Matters is you need to have that information that Bob Moore is a suspect in this case, and he's also a suspect in the Walmart mass shooting case because the Walmart mass shooting and Richard's case are intertwined. So if you're a suspect in Richard's case, then you're a suspect in the Walmart mass shooting. So you got this right that Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader, is also a suspect in the Walmart mass shooting. Also, the disgraced lost his badge, terminated in 2021 to Vita Nusa, the CID agent that leaked information and files to be tampered with, is also a suspect in the Walmart mass shooting case because he is a prime suspect in Richard's case and doing the worst type of things like Dallas, the worst type of things that a human can do. And so, and the same thing with Leilani Hart. And Leilani Hart, therefore, needs to be arrested because there's so much overwhelming evidence for other crimes against children, the worst type of crimes against children, her immigration status. There's a problem with that. And that's not me saying it, that's her in a confession, in a notarized confession, in an affidavit that she submitted, okay, right when Richard's life was taken. You know, you have to put the dates together. July 2020, July 2020. Um, and she was very heavily drugged, very heavily medicated. So this is really important information. And so was Tavita Nusa. Tavita Nusa, our sources, absolutely. He was very heavily medicated. And Dallas Hart at the time needed major dental work, like his face had been bashed in. So this is more and more information coming out. But there has to be a paper trail for all of this, right? And we have said that we have hard evidence upon hard evidence that connects all of this. The LLCs with Dreams Cabaret. You have to remember Leilani Hart was receiving her mail at Dreams Cabaret. So Dreams Cabaret plays a big part in all of this, especially its location, especially because of other evidence coming out from Washington, D.C., that the hundreds of thousands of children that were being trafficked winded up at empty parking lots or strip clubs or places where there was tactical move storage unit or moving containers, right? The trucking containers. So this is very important because this all matches all the evidence that we have also. They corroborate each other and confirms the information that we're getting is legitimate information. So, so Dreams Cabaret, its location, um, and Leilani Hart getting her mail there, Leilani Hart confessing to the worst type of crimes against children, being in possession of the videos of the worst type of crimes against children, and, absolutely implicating her family, absolutely implicating Tavita Nusa, who had his badge removed. For a CID agent to get his badge removed, that takes moving mountains, okay? Just take it from us. That takes moving mountains to do that. So it has to be something very, very severe for him to lose his badge. And so, but there's more paperwork coming out, and that paperwork, those connections are involve the vehicles that witnesses have come forward over and over again. We just recently received another confirmation that a Dodge Charger was involved in a getaway car at the Walmart mass shooting scene. So that was nothing new for us. We absolutely have different vehicles that have been told to us that were part of the Walmart mass shooting orchestration. And a Dodge Charger is one of those. Is one of those. And the color was green. The color was green. So we've looked into that, and there's other vehicles too. It's not just the Dodge Charger, but the Dodge Charger just recently came up again. And so it's very interesting what we found and the connections that we found. And we will be absolutely, let's just say this, it connects Richard. It connects his trafficked vehicle. It connects these cases together. And so, um, you know, you cannot dismiss that A&R Chavira Auto Group is located right across the street from the Cielo Vista Walmart. And court cases, the paperwork trail confirm that that Walmart, it was known place for cartel activity, and it was right across the street from Manny Chavira and Bob Moore's connected A&R Chavira Auto Group LLC, that is connected to the trafficking of Richard's vehicle. And, this, uh, there's so much, there's so much evidence that connects all of this together. That when you look at it all, you sit up straight, your jaw drops. You're like, oh my gosh, they're right across the street from the Walmart. They are known cartel people. They are known huge cartel people. They are connected to the DPS. The DPS is cartel infiltrated, right? They're compromised. And then when you know that the regional director for the Western District of Texas DPS, Director Jose Sanchez, is compromised, and being this compromised still compromises himself even more by doing frisky business on the time clock of the American taxpayer, in the parking lot with a honey trap, okay? There's no other way. I mean, um, well, they should look into it, right? They should look into it. I shouldn't just like shout it out. I want to just shout it out. All this that's very, very obvious. And we have to be so careful, right? And justice is so careful, right? No, justice in right now in this area is compromised. And that's why I want to shout it out. Um, to let people know that there's a cover up going on. There's a cover up, and that the director, Jose Sanchez, is, uh, you know, you've got all these lives that are not protected, and he is heading up the Department of Public Safety, and you have all these lives that are not safe, and he is on the clock doing frisky business, going up some lady's dress who owns lots of vehicles for over $100,000, and her connections are well, they need investigation. There are a lot of red flags there. And so, I want to say it's a honey trap, because if it looks like a honey trap, if it smells like a honey trap, if you know, if the if if the whole incident is a honey trap, then you want to call it a honey trap, right? Um so, uh because what the field office, that the assistant, Connell Witten, who is the uh, who is the bad operator, right? He's the traitor, he's the leaker, he's the one that's protecting his fellowship, Mormon criminals, over and above his duty to the Constitution of the United States. Sorry, we all understand, um, as Americans, that if you have an American that is committing a crime, you have to hold them accountable, right? You have to prosecute. Sorry, Connell Witten, if there's a Mormon that is committing a crime, then you have to call it out. You have to do your duty, and you have to get accountability and prosecute, right? You have to do your job, because you're being paid by the very people that have charged you, that have given you, entrusted you with that duty. And so, but that's not what he's been doing, right? That's not what he's been doing. Um, and he's putting his Mormon connections above his duty. Clearly, that's what the hard evidence says. And here we have this hard evidence about the vehicles that the FBI field office in El Paso should absolutely stop, because I'll tell you what's going on with the vehicles. There's all kinds of funny business going on with the paperwork, with the titles, with the registrations. They're, what do you call it? They're washing titles, they're flipping them, they're swapping them, they're doing all kinds of stuff that is funny business. So you've got the director, DPS director, you've got the FBI field office, Connell Witten. They're all doing funny business, uh, uh, along with the ANR Chavira, along with um, those that um, have these vehicles. And clearly, um, they use these vehicles to for criminal operations. Clearly, so it is just amazing, the information that's coming in, that's connecting uh, the retaliation, um, the targeting of Richard, the retaliation, the taking of his life, with the Walmart mass shooting. And it has to do with these VINs and these cars and these titles and these registrations, and the owners. And it's very jaw dropping. And what the owners do. What do the owners do? How are they connected? Who are they connected to? Are they connected to Fort Bliss? Are they connected to Dreams Cabaret? Are they connected to this criminal cartel group? Are they connected to those that um, absolutely were in positions that could prevent justice for happening in the Walmart mass shooting case, and in many other cases, right? So, these are all very, very good questions. And so uh, they are very important in this case. And, the other news coming out is and I should have started with the breaking news of the confirmation that they have confirmed now that at the crematorium there's evidence of torture activities at the crematorium. Um, you know who's saying that? You know who's saying that? The Gold Star family has to report that, that this confirmation has come in. And it's absolutely um, nightmarish because uh, the other evidence we have points that Richard's partial remains are there. So if they have confirmation that torture was going on there, and we have information that Richard's remains are there, uh, this is a hellish information for us. So, yeah, we put up names. It's, um, what do you want to call Raphael, right? He's a millionaire, y'all. He probably doesn't even care what you think. He's a millionaire, but he needs to care because the system works for us, not for him. And he's been breaching the system over and over and over again. And it looks like it's catching up with him. It looks like it's catching up with him. So we'll see. Um, because he really is um, the worst type of criminal. You can't make this up. You think you have the worst type of criminal, and then a person like Raphael comes along that is the corpse stacker. He's the owner of the Plenitude Crematorium, not of the land that it's on. His mother owns that, but he owns a crematorium, and he advertises all this stuff, and yet he's running a hellhole, a rat-infested hellhole with narco operations going on, a body disposal site where he is committing a sacrilege against Corpus Christi. God is no buttercup in this, and I hope he is shaking in his boots because God is no buttercup, and he's not going to take lightly to someone committing sacrilege against um, Corpus Christi, right? So, and I posted about that because I think it's very, very serious crime. It's a very serious, serious sin, and I and he's committed it readily, and profited off of that, and then took that money and created lots of businesses in El Paso. Of course, he doesn't want to live where he created the committed the sacrilege against Corpus Christi. He didn't want to live in Juarez because he knows it would be cursed, but his name is cursed because of committing the sin, right? Committing the sin. His name is now cursed. Um, I don't know how else to say that, um, uh, because it's absolutely true. What they did um, at the crematorium in Juarez is a curse, and it's a curse upon his household, and it's a curse upon the government of Chihuahua and their households because they committed the crime of sacrilege against Corpus Christi. You know, these people, they're so brazen. They want to take on the heavyweight champion of the universe, right? The heavyweight champion of the universe. They want to take on. Um, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. There's something called humility and being humble. And when you create a hellhole uh, off of off of committing the sin of sacrilege against Corpus Christi, Uh, you've already ding, ding, ding. You've lost. You've lost. You're down. You're out. You're cursed. And, um, and of course, that curse goes into El Paso because he has several businesses, he has several properties. And of course, one of those properties is right beside Beto O'Rourke, right? Right beside Beto O'Rourke. And don't tell me Beto O'Rourke didn't know who his neighbors are. He was running to be president. Of course, he knew who lived around him. He knew this millionaire. He'd want to try to get some campaign funds from him, right? Um, he absolutely knew this millionaire, and the millionaire absolutely had to have licenses and had to operate in El Paso. And Beto O'Rourke is all about that. You know, who's getting what, when, where, how, and for what purposes. So, yeah, this is absolutely the system allowed Purchase Funeral Homes to do this with other funeral homes, including Martin Funeral Homes. And this was all sanctioned by not only the PAN party governor of Chihuahua, Mexico, Maru Campos, and her mother, Maria Eugenia Galvan, um, but also by the complicity of the American government, um, of the Texas government, of the government of El Paso County getting away, uh, letting the corpse stacker, the um, the Lord of the Rot, the Lord of the Rot, um, and whatever names you want to give this this sinner. I mean, he's is that the unforgivable sin to um, commit sacrilege against Corpus Christi and create a hellhole, toxic to all the neighbors, and then to bring that toxicity over to El Paso, into the business world, into restaurants, into um, gas and oil businesses, and all that. He's um, really, um, really is connected to the whole infrastructure there, to be allowed to operate and live in El Paso, um, and be in such a close connection to Purchase Funeral Homes, the funeral home business, which I absolutely believe is totally connected to the criminal trafficking. So, well, it is. It is. There's no doubt at all. So, thank you for coming on, Danielle. Thank you for coming on, Anicia. I know it's so late. Thank you for your prayers and your love, and the confirmation that there was torture activities going on at the crematorium. Um, that was just, can you imagine? Um, and so I think I'm being very restrained and very kind, uh, for what this group has done in the community of Juarez and El Paso, because this was absolutely cross border, right? Binational um, crimes going on. And I think it's international because of all the trafficking. Um, and so we'll know more for sure when these over 400 bodies are tested and their identifications come out. So that is being absolutely pushed very hard. And we believe that Richard's partial remains um, were there. Were there at this hellhole, really. Body stacking place with, you know, uh, there's so much news coming in, and I'm remembering the support. I'm just trying to think of something good while I'm having to report on such evil. And that is that Gloria Guillen came on last night, and I want to say thank you again personally for that. It was it did us so much good. It did us so much good. And early this morning, I posted on that with the support of President Trump, the amazing support of President Trump, and now the amazing support of the Guillen family. And I just want to say thank you so much for that, because it is what gives this traction. It is what forces those that, um, are wishy washy, those that are wishy washy, to get a backbone and to do the right thing and to move forward. I can tell you a little bit of politics going on. You have Senator Ted Cruz, who, walked the crime scene when it wasn't secure. Okay. Walked the Walmart mass shooting crime scene when it wasn't secure, um, which is a total crime. Okay. And that's not the first time he did that. Okay. There's another one. Um, so, he just came out with an endorsement for Roy. What's his name? Something Roy. Chuck Roy. What is his name? Oh, it's late. I know his name. Anyway, for Attorney General for Texas, he's going to run for Attorney General. He put his name in the hat there. And I just want to, he's a congressman. And I want to say that he, Ted Cruz, what we know of Ted Cruz now, him endorsing Roy um, verifies that we cannot vote for him for Attorney General. And I'm talking about our family. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm telling that our family has just, that was very clarifying. Because the Attorney General is such an important role in getting justice for Richard. And, you know, cleaning up this cartel infiltration and all the crime that it involves, and the sucking sound, right? The sucking sound of life, this in every way, economically, in our families. Look at even in death, you have this hellhole being created, connected to El Paso with visas and everything. There's just so much. And the Attorney General of Texas is so important. I don't know how many lawyers are in that, right? In that prosecutor's office. It's so important to combat crime, right? And protect our Constitution. Everything that's good, to protect everything that's good, and to stop all of this this organized crime, really. And so Chip Roy, thank you, came to me. So Chip Roy is an absolute no for our family. Absolute no. If Ted Cruz endorses him, and just want to tell you, we know a lot about what's going on with Ted Cruz. And everything makes sense why he had to cave so early. He's very compromised, y'all. And we know that, so many are compromised. Just about everyone's compromised because of what's been going on. But Chip Roy and what we know of him, and those connections. Nope. Can't vote for him. No way. It would be a devastating for Texas. Absolutely devastating. So, and you see that Beto O'Rourke can't run for president. And of course he can't. The crimes that are now confirmed against him are just so overwhelming that of course he can't. He can't run. Um, so Chip Roy's a no. Ted Cruz, uh, you know, it's so sad to see him because he has the potential. He has the potential. Um, but he's so compromised, y'all. Compromise, compromise. On his site, that's what I wrote. Compromise, compromise, compromise. Um, they want the rewards now at any cost. They'll sell their soul. Right. Because that tells you he might talk about his faith, but that's a ruse. That's a ruse because if you have faith, then your eyes are not on the rewards now. Your eyes are on eternal awards. And I'm not against people having great wealth and having all this beautiful stuff, but not compromising for it, not selling out your country for it, not selling out your duty. Um, Texan and Ted Cruz's case, Texans for it. Uh, no. And he's a senator. He has huge duty. You have this sacrilegious Lord of the Rot, right? Um, Raphael. But he only could do that with because people like Senator Cruz have compromised. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen. So the same thing with Veronica Escobar, and with Beto O'Rourke. They're so compromised, and it's worse with them. I think they're participators in the evil. Well, I know Veronica Escobar is because she brought in Mario Raskin Ortiz. She signed, the okay for him to get all of his paychecks. So, yeah, she's rotten to the core. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that about this, the politics going on, because they do matter. Voting does matter. Of course, we know that voting does matter. That's why they brought in so many people and are always skewing the voting and all of that because it matters a lot because we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So anyone that tells you your vote doesn't matter or that we don't need to have paper ballots counted immediately, and make sure that our voting is um, is valid and legal and ethical um, and with somebody that has skin in the game. So right now it's the citizens. Used to be it would be landowners, land citizens that owned land, you know, um, and then it would be one vote per family. They didn't tell you. They always said, "Oh, it's just the man that votes." Well, the man voted for the family, but if you were a woman head of the family, you could vote. Um, and then they they skewed all of that to say that women didn't never had a say so, but they did. They always have a say so. We're the neck. I mean, once you're we have a huge say so. Look at our politics today. It's dominated by women. So we've always had a say so. Um, it's just that we were absolutely holding our men accountable for doing their duty. Um, and that's a huge job. So, that's a whole big discussion, but uh, votes matter. Our votes matter. And anyone that says that our votes don't matter, don't know what they're talking about because we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and a lot of money is spent to convince us to vote a certain way. So we just really appreciate you coming on, listening, and to the breaking news that we have, and that we've been right all along. We've been right all along from the beginning of this over and over again. And now we have the confirmation by the President of the United States. And we have the confirmation of the Guillen family that this is a deep crime. And they knew that in their daughter's case, that they were given the short end of the stick. And you think, oh, but they did this and this and this with the Guillen family. No, look at what they did. Look at what these criminals did to their daughter. They absolutely um, did not get justice yet. No. So, yeah, we are very grateful for their support. So, thank you so much. We can have these torture crematoriums, narco crematoriums, and so sharing this information, sharing that the VINs of the cars are very important in this case, very important pieces of the hard evidence. And the owners, it's shocking. It really is. So that is all, that's like a preview to what's coming. And of course, I did mention yesterday of the retaliation by the state trooper. Um, and that is going to be explained more too, because that is like so big, so huge, and really confirms that the DPS is compromised. So thank you so much.